So the reason I'm calling and talking tonight is we got to realize that during the elections and all these politicians that are talking out there, we have some serious problems with this situation in South Africa. Politicians and parties are saying things that are wrong. And so I'm gonna bring up some things that you need to understand and understand where you can go from there. I'm gonna do probably a 4-part video series on reasons why South Africa is failing and what's going on. Today, I'm just going to talk about the Constitution and why they're violating the Constitution, and to talk about the IEC, also violations of the IEC. So let me begin. Just in the section of the Constitution of South Africa, in Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, everyone has the right to freedom of expression which includes, number 1, and does not extend to propaganda for war, incitement of imminent violence, advocating hate based on race, ethnicity, gender, religion, and constitute the incitement of harm that could to cause harm. Well, there's a gentleman that's in red, both of them, 2 parties, they'd like to do that. And they've violated the Constitution about 100 times, and the IEC's done nothing. They should forfeit their deposit in terms of 17.2-4. And because they're inciting the murder of a certain race group, gender, and children, they should be removed from the political realm. Totally. The assets should be seized, and they need to be no more in politics. The leaders of these groups need to be arrested and charged for crimes violating the Constitution of South Africa. The land expropriation without compensation that they're screaming about constantly, they have not told the people what they're not going to get. And here's the fact. One has to understand that the black population has been expropriated. I know you're going to get mad while me telling you this, because they have no land titles. The government comes along and just builds a road through their houses, tells them to get off. Don't worry, you don't have land here. You just live here. And they're telling them the same thing now. They say, oh, we're going to give you land. We're going to give you everything. But guess what? The land belongs to somebody because they have a title. And they can go on that land and they can build their shack. But guess what's going to happen? The exact same thing they got right now. No title. And in the end, the government will own everything. Whoever's in the government. It doesn't matter what they promised them. We don't care. Guys, you have to understand the only way to win this is by the law. Malema's lying. BLF, Andile is lying. There's a bunch of these parties that are lying to the people. Who are they going to give the land to? They're going to divide the land up and say, okay, you can have some of that, you can have some of that, you can have some of that, but what about the guy behind it? They haven't thought this through. And when they've taken all the farms and taken everything and burnt everything to the ground, then who are they going to give it to? Because they don't want it. They just want to steal the TV. And it's easy to go mark out the land and say, okay, this is my plot. and they run in there with a bush knife and chop it all down and say, this is mine. But it's not. It doesn't belong to them anymore. It's not even theirs. They're lying to them. So to the moderate blacks out there, please talk to your people. These politicians are lying to you, totally lying. They're advocating civil war. They're advocating the killing of minorities. Now I talk to the other minorities besides whites, Indians, coloreds, Khoisan, and the other smaller little tribes and all that. In the end, you have to understand, who are they going to give the land to? Just by the Constitution, right? Just by the Constitution, they have violated it already. By advocating violence, racism, minorities, and inciting people to murder, they are calling for the murder of white people and minorities. Let's go to the IEC, the Election Commission, which has no teeth, who is too scared to do anything. They know they have no power, but you have power. I hope every white person that can vote in South Africa went to vote, went to register. Don't give up. There is hope. We can't talk about it. We've been working on this. That's why I've been quiet. Something very good's coming, but we can't talk about it. God works in mysterious ways. Believe me. I found out today. I almost cried. And I'm a tough guy. When I heard something today, it took my breath away. Honest to God, took my breath away. And soon we will be able to tell you about it. So let's go to the IEC. The status of the Republic of South Africa elections. The forfeit of any deposit paid to a person or party in terms of whatever. All right. Prohibited that a person or party using the public arena, holding public meetings and demonstrations, march, or other political events, enter to voting districts in the purpose of canvassing voters for any other purpose than elections. So what are these people doing? They're going into your areas, Natal, Transvaal, Cape, and threatening people, telling the populace there, not about voting for me. They're telling you to take the land and attack the white people. They violated the election laws. Now, to all the other political parties that are out there, you have a right now under the Constitution of South Africa to file a grievance, and you can put the EFF away and the BLF away based on the Constitution of South Africa. Nothing else. Don't worry about the violence and don't shoot them and do it. You've got the law in your hands. Don't all of you sit back and help for one person to help. You guys are going to do it, right? So, collectively, the political parties that are in power right now file a grievance with the IEC and then file a grievance in the Constitutional Court of South Africa, not the IEC. They're a useless bunch of nonsense. I would take it to the Supreme Court of South Africa and demand that these people forfeit everything. There is enough videos of enough of these parties screaming for the murder of minorities in South Africa, and the international communities have seen them already. Based on the Constitution and based on the rules of the IEC, they have failed horribly. They are calling for the genocide of minorities in South Africa. Now, to all the moderate blacks in South Africa, do you want to go backwards? And I'm calling on you because you are the majority of South Africa. Do you want these parties that are burning down your clinics, burning down your hospitals, burning down your schools, to take over your government that's barely functioning right now, based on the corruption of Bosasa, Eskom, and all the other horrible things that have been going on, the corruption of the police, the bribery, and the murders and rapes of your own people? Do you honestly want these people in the government still? Do you want them to take over from the ANC? Ramaphosa has put forward a corruption case against his government. That's a first good step he's done in a long time. But, and I say but, every politician that took a bribe from Busasa needs to be in jail too. You need to hold these people accountable. That's the only way. So, anyone taking funds, receiving funds from the state, excuse me, I've been sick, or any foreign sources. Now, those parties that are in power right now, that have managed to pay for their election fees, which is over 600,000 rand, that have not got the money from South Africa, are getting funds from foreign agents. They should be forfeited totally. I can't express this more. EFF has been funded by the BSA, or it's ABSA Bank. They should forfeit. There's enough evidence to prove that a lot of the political parties that are not advocating the freedom and capitalism in South Africa are funded by foreign governments and should be disqualified. If the law does not prevail, you have no law. If politicians are in power that are corrupt, you have no law. What is the biggest problem in South Africa right now? And you have to answer that for yourself in your heart. And I will come up with that one tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about two things. Tomorrow I will talk about racism, the biggest evil of all. It's a sickness. It's a sickness that tears everybody apart. Brothers against brothers, mothers against sisters, daughters, husbands, blacks, whites, Indians, coloreds, everybody. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And I'll talk about that tomorrow more in depth. But let's go back to government. So to everybody in South Africa, besides whites and blacks, you got to understand, you're going to have to live together. I don't care how you look at this, how you think about it. I have been in discussions with lots of people in the last couple of weeks. And the main topic is you can't go back to apartheid. Just like what's happening now, it's just apartheid in reverse. You have to, you guys, you have to change this. You have to change it. But I can tell you that there is an resurgence of goodwill coming from the blacks, the Indians, the colored people, and the whites are starting to do this. They're joining them. They realize that hatred, that corruption, that governance that's been going on for so long, that has destroyed everything, has to stop. And like I said in the beginning, God works in mysterious ways. And when I say God, think about where that's coming from. Christians of all colors, all nations, all creeds are coming together because they're tired of this evil. It's evil, straight up evil. And they're tired of it. To the moderate blacks that are out there that look at what's happening in their communities as well. And I know I've been stressing about this genocide that's going on, and it is going on. But they're taking it just as much as you are. No black woman allowed to walk in the township without fear of being raped, just as a white woman. The disparities of what's going on between the whites and blacks, yes, it's ridiculous. It's out of control. So, in good governance, There should be no class of color, no class of creed, and no class of anything, because every single person born in South Africa is a South African, irrespective of race. I understand that the system right now is broken totally because it's the old rhetoric of the Communist Party, and that's who's driving this problem. Evil, non-believing people who don't care. They just want utter control, and it's a sickness. Power is a sickness. So they're using racism and a few other things to corrupt. And then the corruption starts when there is no accountability. So to everybody in South Africa, I hope you registered for the right party. And consider this, I cannot choose who your leaders are. But I can tell you something, I would not vote for a communist party. I would vote for a Christian party. And I'm giving you ideas right now. I can't tell you who to vote for. But I would vote for a Christian party. One that has the morals of Christian values. To the Muslim communities out there that are moderate Muslim communities, I say the same thing to you, the Hindu communities, Tamils, same thing. Any other religion that's out there. Consider, and I know they're joining these Christian parties too, consider what lies before you in the future. This rush to judgment and start an election right now is terrible. And I'm hoping that all these parties come together in a lawsuit to postpone this election until November, if not December. And if they open the registrations again, please, people, you need to go vote. There is hope. Believe me. We've been working our butts off to try and make this work. Okay? And God is on our side. So let me reiterate what I said tonight, and this is part one. In the election, in the Constitution of South Africa, it states quite categorically in Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, everybody has the right to freedom of expression, which includes, number one, does not extend to, here's what I'm saying, does not extend to propaganda of war, incitement of imminent violence, which is happening, advocating the hatred that is based on race, ethnicity, gender, and religion, incitement to cause harm, and that's it. So next time, I will talk about race. But before I go, I want to tell you something. There is a rumor, which I'm trying to verify. So I'm not going to say it's fact, that a lot of the registrations cannot verify the addresses of the registrar. If that is the case, they need to postpone this election based on the fact that they cannot prove who's voting. And no foreign entity in the country can vote for you. Therefore, it needs to be verified by an independent source. Tomorrow, I will talk about race and racism. And I bid you guys good night. I'm out of here.